Can you explain what the management was, what it is now, and why the change over the course of time?
Yeah, I think it's imperative to start with the ownership of the facility. And the ownership of the facility has always fallen within the city of Westfield. The vision Mayor Andy Cook had for the facility, it was imperative that the city maintained ownership so that there was always a consistent base of how to oversee the campus. When we look at the start of the campus in 2014, the developer of the campus was the Hankey Development Group, created an entity called Grand Park Sports LLC, which was hired by the city to manage the initial year of the campus. And that was just because there was already institutional knowledge on the ins and outs of the facility. They were managing the closeout of construction. And so in that first year, it was imperative that they managed the opening year. The different stakeholders at the time were all well connected with the Hinkey Development Group and Grand Park Sports LLC. So it was just a natural fit. As construction completed and into 2015, the city of Westfield made the decision to take on not only maintain ownership, but also take on the management thereof. And so hired a director for the facility and some staff, including myself, to manage the facility. And that management really ran through the end of the 2024 season with three directors. There was a director that closed out construction and got to build the Grand Park Event Center. And then a director that took on what I'll call the next phase was really building the business. And then I got to ride the coattails of those two wonderful guys and got to execute from 22 to end of 24 as the director for the city of Westfield. In 2022, the mayor at the time, Mayor Andy Cook, knew that his final term was coming to a close and he was not going to run again in Westfield. And he wanted to isolate the facility from local politics. So he decided to put out a RFP, request for proposal, for another management firm to take over the campus. It was imperative to him at the time to still maintain ownership of the facility, that that city of Westfield should maintain ownership so that they had end all be all say over what happened with the land and what happened with the facility. But again, to isolate the operations from local government, it was imperative that the operations were shifted to a new management firm. So over the course of about 2 years, the city was going through different proposals to operate the campus, landed on a proposal that was sent in by two entities that came together to create Grand Park Sports Entertainment. Those two entities that joined forces were Bullpen Ventures, who has been a long-term partner of the park and has operated the diamond side of the campus under an entity called Bullpen Tournaments, and Indy Sports Entertainment, which operates the Indy 11 soccer team that plays downtown Indianapolis. Those two entities having the homegrown and a lot of institutional knowledge on the facility and some different thoughts on how they would utilize the campus, created Grand Park Sports and Entertainment, and took over operations at the start of this year, 2025. At that time, all of the staff that I was managing and myself were brought over into that entity to maintain operations and keep things going the way that they have been going, and put in some new ideas. But maintain operations was shifted to this now private entity. And what that has done over the last, well, now 7 full months, is again isolate the decisions on a day-to-day basis from local politics. Formerly, not each director, including myself, had to go to city council for certain approvals, had to go to another board called the Redevelopment Commission for different approvals, everything from budget to capital projects to staff hires. We had to go through this rigorous process, and it was city policy. Government entities have to go through certain checks and balances, and it isn't always the most nimble. It isn't always the easiest way of getting things done. We made it work, and I guess I'm biased here, but I thought we were successful in doing so. But it was imperative to shift that over to this private entity that basically got the ability, if they wanted to hire someone, and as we do now, we go through the interview process, we hire someone. We don't have to get it approved. We go through that process. So long as we can show that it's a sound business decision, we can make those decisions. Now, The one caveat that I'll say is because it is still owned by the city of Westfield, any capital investment, any changes to the facility that are over a certain dollar amount, we still have to go through approvals, naturally so. Just like if you were to rent your apartment, you can't, put a new window in just because you want to put a new window there. You have to go through certain approvals. It's imperative that we get to have the end all be all say of all operation matters now, and without local politics playing a major role.